DECONSTRUCTION.
What's up, everybody? It's Sahara DECONSTRUCTION. You can find us on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with your host, Komp, and
perfectly functioning body parts.
Today's film is
Tales from the Hood, 1995.
Tales from the Hood, 1995. A funeral director tells four strange tales of horror with an African-American focus to three drug dealers he traps in his place of business. Directed by Rusty Cundiff, written by Rusty Cundiff and Darren Scott, starring Clarence Williams III, Corbin Burnson, Joe Torre. Oh, of the Yankees? Oh, no, it's a different Joe Torre. Anyway, Danny, why'd you pick Tales from the Hood?
I feel like we've always wanted to do this. I guess we should have done it in February, but
yes.
We didn't.
I've always said that I wanted to do a Black Horror History Month, but I think we've seen all the best Black Horror movies out there.
And the worst,
There's
honestly.
two. We've only seen two really good Black Horror films. This film and Get Out. I always want to do it, but we always take January off for the, when we come back for a new season. And then we just get greedy and we're like, oh, no, let's just start with a new movie for the new year. And
but I'm glad we did this.
Yes, very cool movie. So, Tales from the Hood. So you picked it because you thought it's about the right time, and also plus it is a black.
I've seen this as a little kid. It's been a really long time, so it held up.
I saw this actually in theater. It was one of my favorite movie theater experiences I've ever had when I was young, because I saw it at Whitestone Cinemas in New York City, which is now closed, like most New York movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It's inner city theater. I'm a Latino, so I was okay there. It was full of African-American gentlemen and women, and it was the greatest thing ever because everybody was just talking shit throughout the whole film. And I remember they even had a trailer for a film called...
What's unfortunate is like all these topics are still totally applicable to today's society.
This movie is way ahead of its time. If you're watching Get Out thinking it's revolutionary, it's like, no, you can see this film. Listen, people have been beating up on black people for the longest time. Since what? Since the beginning of America? So I think
they even quoted, "Can't we all just get along?"
Yes, this is reflective of the Rodney King. This is very much around that time of the Rodney King beating up, since they quoted
when did
in the
that
film.
Happen? That was like the late 80s or something? Like,
no, that was in the 90s. That was the LA riots, so that was about the early 90s. And they do quote that in this film, I think, like twice.
They have the KKK guy quoted.
Yeah, but they do that. That's like in a comedic way, which is funny.
Yeah, but that's even more obnoxious.
Yes,
and he's basically like a Trump. Ugh.
Yeah, so I had seen this film in the theater. And I even clearly remember seeing the trailer for... There was a hip-hop documentary. It was like a live concert film called The Show. Because they movie theaters do this. They'll like put specific trailers in front of movies, and they're like, let's see a black horror film. Let's put some black, movies in front of it. I don't remember what the other movies. I just remember The Show because they had Notorious Big in it, and he was rapping. And I remember somebody in the audience going, "Get that fat motherfucker off the screen!" And I was laughing my ass off. It was really great. Like, you know how when you and I saw, what the hell? We just spoke about it, Paranormal Activity. Yeah. And there was this couple behind this, and they kept saying everything that happened in the movie. It was like super stereotypical, and I was like,
"Oh,
Jesus
he's going
Christ,
up the stairs! Oh no,
yeah,
he's opening the door!"
That's a very racist voice you're just doing. Anyway, so then when I saw this movie, it was great because everybody was like laughing along and telling jokes, and they were like, "Get out of there, motherfucker!" Stuff like that. My favorite part is I'll get to it, but the part with the racist white guy in the old sort of not the sharecropper, like a. What
in the plantation home.
Plantation home. And that guy says, he starts spitting out the N-word. And then he says, "Come here, you little," and he says the N-word, but he says Lins, like Lins, he says that. The audience must have erupted in so much laughter. I've never heard so many people laugh. And I was like, but this is like racist. Like,
man, I would have loved to have seen that, actually. That
was cool. So fun. Like, it was just fun because everybody was like in on it, because they understood it was a film. But anyway, back to this film, Rusty Cundiff. I love that name because it sounds like some sort of disease of the vagina for some reason. That's just me, like an old vagina. But Rusty Cundiff obviously is a very talented guy because he made essentially a good anthology film that feels solid,
Which doesn't happen often, honestly.
No, anthology films are hard to do. Creepshow does it. Creepshow 2 does not do it. Although Creepshow 2 is pretty fun for half of it. Creepshow, I guess, would be the shining example of anthology horror films.
I mean, we've done some good ones on here.
Yeah, like Tales of Halloween. Remember how great that was? Oh boy, what a fantastic movie!
You know, that Halloween one with the little guy Sam and
that was
Cat's Eye. There's some good ones.
Yeah, that's true. VHS, the first one was decent. Some of it.
ABC's of Death has a pretty good run. I don't know.
Anyway, so this film starts out with three gentlemen that get into some shenanigans by going to this funeral home for the dearly departed. I believe, was it called Dearly Departed, or I forgot what the name of the funeral home was. Anyway, so they go in there.
Sim's Funeral Home, I think, is what it's called.
And the guy who plays the funeral director, like, this guy's awesome. Like,
no, I know him from so much shit. I just can't remember what.
You'd remember him. It's Clarence Williams III, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He was very famous in the 70s or the 60s or the 70s for being a part of this series called the Mod Squad, which is like a hip group of like undercover cops. But anyway, he's this African American actor, and he was also in Half Baked. He was the drug kingpin in Half Baked.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Remember the part?
That's definitely not what I know.
He almost acts like the same way, because my favorite line in that movie is just because that movie's great, and that's by a female director, the one who did Half Baked. I forget what her name is. But she also did Billy Madison, which to me is the greatest Adam Sandler movie ever.
Oh, really?
But Clarence Williams III, when he's playing the drug
Tamara Davis.
Yeah, Tamara Davis, right? Or Tamara Davis, probably either.
Tamara.
And he does this line in the film that's so stupid in Half Baked. The part he says something about the Latino guy, right? I think he calls him Puerto Rican. And then the Cuban guy says, "Yo, I'm Cuban, B." And then he goes, "Yes, Cuban B." And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, it made absolutely no sense. It was
That's a great movie, though.
It really is. It's a fantastic
movie. It's been a really long time.
Just to see Dave Chappelle give, I think, a pocketbook back to the girlfriend. He tries to hypnotize her. He goes, "I'm very handsome. You want to date me?" Like, that's just a great movie. Anyway, so Clarence Williams III is entertaining these three gentlemen. I believe their name is Bulldog, Ball, and Stack.
What kind of names are those?
I don't know. I recognize Stack and Ball from somewhere. I don't know. Joe Torre and DeAndre Bonds. DeAndre Bonds is the most recognizable guy. He's the guy with the little afro. Yeah. And, of course, Bulldog. What kind of, like, I guess these are all L.A. gangbangers. Bulldog, he's not a nice guy. He's sort of a dick to his friends.
They're all dicks.
If you're in a gang, why are you trying to, you thought you'd be boys or something, just be cool with each other. Bulldog's a bit of a...
that's kind of the meaning of the final story.
Bulldog's a bit of a ruffian, I'd say, not a nice gentleman. Yeah. And here's the thing. Well, you and I are from the East Coast, so we understand East Coast slang and East Coast, how people act down here if they're hood or thug or whatever. Yeah. And, like, I can spot it instantly if it sounds like horse shit in a movie. When they, like, people are, like, acting badly. Like, 80% of, like, movies that take place in the hood or, inner city, and they have these...
written by a white guy.
They have, like... Yeah, written by a white guy, and they'll have, like, English guys that are, like, playing, like, hood guys going, "Yeah, yo, my boy," and you're like, get the fuck out of here. So I don't know, really, what Los Angeles gangsters sound like. They all sound like these guys in this movie.
I mean, it seems to be a little over the top, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit over the top, but I think that's...
At least in this framing story, but
yeah, it seems a little bit comical. Anyway, so it goes. The basic framing of the story is that these three guys are looking for some drugs. He called them over. How do you get their phone number? I don't know, but he called them over to say that he found drugs on. Yeah. I don't know, maybe in front of the building. That's what he said, or behind the building. And so he's taking them through. And he decides. I don't know, understand how that works out, but either way, he decides he wants to. He tells these different stories. He opens up these 4 caskets, and they each contain a body where he can tell a story about them.
I wouldn't mind that. It seems relaxing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't mind looking at a corpse of a person and hearing a story. I would have got the fuck right out of there. Like, nah, I'm okay. You tell me a story.
That's cool, though. That's a nice change of atmosphere.
I guess so, but still, Clarence Williams III as the funeral guy is fantastic. He's incredible. I wish there were more movies with him in it because he's just like such a cool character, and he's funny. He's like snazzily dressed. I was trying to figure if he was wearing fake teeth, with the gap in the middle of it. Because I was trying to stare, because I think he might have a gap in real life, but I couldn't tell.
It was a pretty pronounced gap.
Yeah, but then you try to see if those teeth are actually lower than a normal person's teeth. so they can put the gap in there. So it's like false bridge, whatever. Anyway, he's very entertaining. He's about as entertaining as the Crypt Keeper is. He's just like a very entertaining kind of goofball, over the top sort of guy, but it works for this type of film because you're expecting him to be a weirdo. Anyway, so the first story. What is the first story in this?
It's
quadrology.
Rogue Cop Revelation.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was like,
it's so relevant. Unfortunately,
it really is. Like,
it
this
sucks. Like,
listen, as long as everybody's gonna have different skin colors, that's just how it is. I swear to you, that's just how it is for the rest of eternity. That's just how it is. Because it fucking sucks. People are stupid.
Yeah.
They have to they have to fight each other just because. But anyway, I remember when I went to the theater and I was thinking that this was the least best one. Watching it again, it was okay. But I remember when I saw it in theater, I was like, it's all right. Like, I favored the puppet one. I mean, the dolls
puppet one is the fucking voodoo doll one is really good.
The voodoo doll one and the little kid drawing on the paper. I thought those were the two
that's
best
the
ones.
one that I remember the most, actually.
But that could be because I was a kid and I was like, those are kind of kid friendly. Well,
that one genuinely scared me. It's also weird seeing David Alan Grier.
That was amazing. Anyway, so
let's that kind of violent role because he's usually very funny to me.
Yeah, we'll get to this one. So we'll get to that one. But so anyway, this first one deals with a guy. It's very much Rodney King. It's super like three corrupt cops and this one milquetoast cop, the only black cop part of these four guys. He's like they beat the shit out of this guy who's supposed to be a political agitator.
He brings down corrupt cops.
Yes, and the other cops are like, hey, you're getting good cops fired, so there's some sort of thin blue line sort of horse shit. Here's the thing, there's no good white people in this movie, so you can enjoy that, I guess. And they beat the shit out of this guy, they plant drugs on him, they crash his water. The black cop is like, oh, no. He's looking up the guy's like information. Well, you can clearly hear the guy's head getting smashed through a fucking window, getting his ass kicked, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, that's whatever his name is. And,
he pays for it, though, in the end.
Yes, he decides to quit the force, and it's, I guess, a year later or so.
And
hey, can you guess something interesting about the actor who plays that guy?
Who, the black cop?
Which
Clarence?
one? No, the guy who plays the political agitator. Can you take a guess? What's interesting?
No. Oh, it's very much like
don't look up his name though. Do you want a hint?
Give me a hint, sure.
Thanks for the ride, lady.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the guy from
the hitchhiker guy, and
yeah, that's the guy from Creepshow 2. Which is,
really?
to me, is the greatest Creepshow story I've ever seen.
So he kind of does the same role in a way.
Yes, he does. He gets killed and then he just hunts people down. He's sort of like the African American version.
He even is hanging on the back of the car at one point.
He's like the African American version of the Crow. There's a humongous fuck up too. The part when he scares the shit out of those two police officers, by jumping on the car. Yeah. And then the car drives away and he's 10 feet away from the car. It seems like they just fucked up and he was like, fuck it, put it in the movie.
No, I thought it was just to show he's not obeying physics.
Okay, sure.
That was how I took it. I don't know.
That's the actor Tom King. He's playing or I could also think that maybe he wasn't actually dead because remember he strangled that lady in Creepshow 2 and then he got facial reconstruction, then became a black leader, and then he just ended up got killed by cops.
Also, the way he was controlling the needles,
that was cool.
That
Here's
was
the
really
thing:
cool.
when I read, this is what fucked me up when I saw Cell. When I read the novel Cell, he was who I pictured as the zombie, like the King Zombie. You know how in the Cell, the novel by Stephen
the Harvard,
King?
Mr. Harvard guy, yeah.
Yeah, the leader of the zombies in Cell.
That movie is so stupid.
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about what in my head who I pictured, because he was like a psychic zombie. And I would say it's probably the worst mural of somebody you appreciate to put on a wall to make him look like a frightening wizard. Because his character is killed, and they decide to make him look like some sort of frightening wizard shaking down like with a humongous spooky face.
I think it's a supernatural portrait.
Somebody had to graffiti it up on the wall. I don't think it just appeared and people were like, oh, okay.
Graffitied the cop up on the wall.
That's true. So they kind of fucked up because the real asshole cop that actually killed him, he is killed, he gets decapitated. But then the other cop who was just sort of showed up, for some reason he gets the worst wrath. He gets
they all were in on it.
Yeah, but still, that first asshole cop should have been the one that been graffiti on the wall. But it's really good graffiti too, really nice looking art. So I wasn't really. It was just a revenge thing, and then the cop
it would have been cooler if they got all of them graffitied on the wall. Like even if it killed them in a different scene, you see their bodies on the wall.
Yeah.
later.
So and then also the junkies all looked really Hollywood and phony. They just looked like ooh, like zombies walking around. I didn't really like it that much. But yeah, the whole Rodney King element is like it's like super like obvious what it's supposed to be about cops, and obviously there are fucking racist cops out there. No shit, you can still see it to this day. Not all cops, obviously.
Well, you can see it on fucking YouTube videos now.
Oh, for sure, you can see
people still defend it. It's insane.
There's
we won't get political,
but then there's also because I think around the same time there was a movie called Strange Times, or Strange Mind. Oh fuck, it's some James Cameron movie about you're able to have other people's brains. You can live through their life. Strange. Oh fuck, whatever. It starred Ray Fiennes, and that also had a Rodney King element, but it was like super obnoxious how they did it because it was like this black rapper that gets killed by cops, and it was around the time of the Rodney King, and they might as well just call the fucking guy Schmodney Fling because that's exactly how it was. At least
Strange
this one,
Days, by the way,
Strange Days, right? This handles it a little bit better, but
I think it did it good. I mean, it's quick enough, and it's very Candyman.
Very much so. That's exactly what I thought about that. Like, I thought the Candy... I think they're both actually...
I mean, the portrait alone was very Candyman.
Yeah, there's something really... Yeah, there was something... I don't know what it is, but there's something spooky about both those, murals.
Portraits?
Like,
oh, yeah, they're really creepy.
The Candyman mural, for me, is like the spookiest fucking mural I've ever seen in a film. But this one's good, too, because he has like a really cool expression on his face. Pissed
For a short film, this is great. It's perfect.
Yeah, so that's the first storyline. I thought it was okay. So this moves on to the second storyline, which is what?
Boys Do Get Bruised, which is about Walter and the monster.
So I think Rusty Cundiff is actually the director of the film. He's playing the teacher in the
I just saw that just now. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the guy with the dreads and stuff like that. I was looking up what Rusty Cundiff has been doing. Which I feel bad because this is a good movie, and I always thought about it as a good movie. And he's like just directs television now, which is like more of a steady job. And I was like, what is he doing? And then I was looking it up, and he directs like a show called Gay Skit Happens, and it's like I don't think all the episodes, but it was like it's hosted by, I think, if you've ever seen that show. Or that film Mean Girls, there was the overweight kid who was gay, and he just it's like a gay, and I was like, oh Jesus! So I just looked it up, and I was laughing. It was like funny. Good? Yeah, it's actually the skit that I saw was funny because it was these 4 people that got superpowers, and the gay guy was able to tell the difference between mint and teal colors. It was funny. That was like actually very funny. So it's like I guess it's a gay centered sketch comedy show. So
I wonder if he is gay.
Rusty Cundiff? I don't know. It's only the one show, so I think maybe he was just directing it. So Danny thinks if you help gay people once, you're homosexual. So Danny.
Shut up.
Anyway, so the second story has this young boy who was obviously getting beaten by a monster. A monster comes into his house and kicks his ass every night.
Who was also no, he wasn't Homie the Clown. Who was he on Living Color? I'm trying to remember.
He played the old singer. He'd be like, "Want to hear a song about? Here goes." He does that, and then he also he would play Ike Turner. He's so fucking funny as Ike Turner. He go, "What the problem is?" Like David Allen Greer.
He's very funny. I've seen him in a lot of things. I'm blanking.
He would also be in David Allen Greer is a shining beacon of talent that never got the come up what is the word? He never got the shine that Jim Carrey did. I think he's equally as funny as Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's weird seeing him as this like angry, violent guy, though.
It's great. Weird. It was a great turn. It's funny also. Takia Crystal Kima, also from in Living Color, is playing the nurse, bandaging up the kid. She's also from the first season of, or actually for a couple of seasons of In Living Color. So I was watching, I was like, holy shit, like she's from In Living Color too. Like I guess it must have been a fucking, a group thing with them.
I wonder if you guys can hear my stomach rumbling. It's very loud right now.
So anyway, it was a really interesting part. I liked it. I liked now thinking about it, reminded me of that horrible bullshit they pull at the end of the last Dark Tower novel, where the kid was able to draw shit and it comes for real. Right. And but I like the way that this one is edited, like the part where.
Well, there's a lot of voodoo sort of stuff in this.
Yeah, you see the drawing of that. Like I like the outlining of the drawing coming over when it's having that little montage scene of him getting his ass kicked. And you see the monster on screen. It's like a little child, and it actually looks like a child's drawing. Because I hate when they have adults clearly draw a child's drawing. There's just something about the way a kid draws that you can tell, okay, a kid drew. For what I know, probably adult.
Yeah, when they have adults do kids drawing, it's always like really good.
Yeah, it's like super perfect.
Like way too detailed for
when
like,
I was when I was in junior high, there was this kid who I was so fucking jealous all the time. He was like my friend, and he could draw. He didn't take any art school. This is when I was drawing horribly. This kid was able to draw stuff that you would see like in Japanese style art books, not like cool. Manga stuff, but he looked like a mix of European. That they do? Yeah, it looked like mix of European fantasy art and stuff like that. Really good art, and he didn't even have to try. He was like a genius.
He must have been like a savant or something.
I think so. I don't know what the hell happened. If he draws now, he must draw like fucking incredible things right now. But who the hell knows where he is? And anyway, so with this kid decides that a friend of his tells him that if he draws something and burns it, it goes away. So David Alan Grier, and there's also Paula Jai Parker, who I thought was attractive when I was younger. She was like in a couple things. I don't remember what I saw her in. She plays a mom. Yeah, she did. She's like, can you imagine you're a kid and he doesn't have a dad. He has a stepfather.
He's got bruises. He's an asshole.
His mom's hoeing it up, and she's able to trying to sleep with any guy, and she's bringing in a fucking scumbag as a stepfather. Like, that kid has a fucked up life, man. And I'm sure that in each of these stories there's some sort of moral quandary directly towards African Americans, but it's not my place to say what they are. You know what I mean? I guess it's for them to pick out.
The other ones are more obvious. For this,
the fourth one is obvious. This one, I guess, is probably more dealing with family issues and trying to keep a family together, as opposed to bringing in elements that'll fuck it up.
Also, just like the classic, don't listen to little kids, even when they're telling things that are true.
So I remember when that craziness happens to David Alan Grier's character, where his fucking arms snap backwards and he just starts spinning in a circle because his whole body twists up. I thought that was one of the worst. I was like, oh, not worse than bad. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, it was frightening.
I actually think the effect still works really well.
No, I do. I think they're great. But the funniest part, because it's a very grotesque, like, because it's not blood splitting everywhere, splattering. It's just his body crumpling up into itself, like his leg just snaps backwards and rolls and shit in his arm. Yeah. And like then they make it funny because he's still talking, but in a pile of his own flesh. So then obviously they make it funny, which I thought kind of takes a little bit of wind out of the scene. But either way, it still works. And then they decide to burn it, and the teacher says nobody will ever know about this. And then they decide to put it inside of a coffin so nobody would know. Like, what the hell is the point?
Yeah, right. That's true.
So. But
that's a good catch. I didn't catch
at least the one guy acknowledges, like, oh, do you think that really happened? Because
but then again, as we find out later, this isn't just a normal funeral home. So I guess it makes sense that funeral director could get.
Yeah, maybe he just got it right, and he was able to call people magically about drug packages. So let's move on to the third story.
What do we got here? KKK comeuppance.
So what is the general storyline for this one?
2016 election.
Okay, very funny. So anyway, this guy who is sort of, I think his name is supposed to be a mix of an actual, like a leader of the KKK, David Duke, and also this guy I think was called Tom Metzger. That's what I read on the trivia. Okay. He's somebody that had some hand in all this racist shit that they decide to put on people because they.
Anyway, former KKK becoming a politician and.
It's so weird. Like, if you ever looked at David Duke, like, he looked like a normal guy. Like, I don't know how fast this guy aged. Like, maybe racism made him age really quickly. Like, I'm not kidding. Right. He looked like a normal, like, you know how Paul Ryan sort of looked like a quasi-weird white guy? Yeah. Like, this guy looked like him back then. Like, he sort of looked like a normal white guy. This is at least maybe, I guess 20 years ago can fuck you up. But he looks like he should be in front of somebody's house going, carry on. Like, he looks spooky now. Like, and you can tell he has a toupee on. And he was, of course, doing backflips for Trump. Anyway, so that's David Duke kind of guy. And he's based on that guy. And he's moving into this plantation. Was the plantation part of his family or something like that? Or he just took it over?
Like his family? Maybe.
Either way, he's moving into this place where a lot of African American people are upset. There's a guy this guy looked like he fucking jumped out of Song of the South. You know, like that Disney movie about racist shit?
Oh, yeah, that
this guy has a loud, obnoxious shirt and a fucking farmer's hat. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, he walked out of some sort of racist black cartoon or some shit. And he's like, he's like, they want reparations, and I'm like, what kind of reparations can you give to toys or something? Like, you're supposed to give them little mini versions of shit. Like, what the hell are you gonna do with that? Either way, the storyline is that this racist owner of a plantation killed all of his slaves. I don't know why he did it. He hung them up all in the tree, so he's a piece of garbage. And this woman decided to make toys and put the souls of the souls of the dead into these dolls. Yeah. And either way,
I like the whole concept of the
I
painting.
did too. I love that painting stuff too.
Like getting white as
I thought that was great. That was such a great reveal. Like when all of them come off the screen.
Yeah, that was good.
And you see like they're like painted off of the wall. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And everybody's like, oh shit, you know. So that was great. I thought that was one of the awesome ones. And plus, it had, you know what it has? It has that beautiful fucking stop motion animation. Like, I wonder if the guys that animated, although I'm sure, you know, stop motion animation, if you do it really well, looks pretty good. Because to me, the stop motion in Puppet Master,
troll from
I'm saying Puppet Master, like that stop motion was fucking beautiful. And I was like, I wonder if these are the same guys that handle it. That's
the only thing that Full Moon ever did that was good.
Yes, that's the only thing where they had confidence, you know, in their fucking work. But I thought that was fantastic, and I thought that, you know, them walking around, you can tell like it's obviously green screen them because their shading is a little bit lighter than anything else, but still the design of the dolls look cool, like the main doll that's running after him,
and they're all under the floorboards, I guess.
Yeah, and the way they trip that guy down the staircase and kill him because he was like, they picture him as a sellout because he's I think that guy's Latino, but he might be half black, half white.
Honestly, if you. Doesn't matter how racist you are. If you're in a house...
Were you saying that about me? Oh, okay.
You know for a fact that there are voodoo dolls trying to kill you. Like, it's not even a question.
No, I mean, like...
Wouldn't you run?
Well, yeah. No, as soon as I saw the first one, I'd be out of there. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be out of there. As soon
as I saw that video footage of where he sees it, I'd be like, okay, see, like, I'd jump out the window.
Also, something I wonder if Jordan Peele, unless I'm, you know, mixing things up, you know how this movie has a very particular violin, you know, it has like a particular violin sound. Like, I wonder if, because I'm pretty sure they also have that style in Get Out. And I was wondering if that was like, you know...
this is like, that's like a typical, like, old horror movie.
Those are the only two films I remember hearing this sort of violin like that. Like, that particular type of violin. So I wonder if he did that as an homage, or I'm just kind of thinking that shit up. Either way, that was a cool story. That line where he almost... the white guy almost repeats the racist joke, or like, the only spooks I'm afraid of. And then he almost realizes he's going to say something racist. He goes, you spooky reporters. And then he runs off. Like, that shit was fucking hilarious. Like, I think when people realize like a character is just being a racist idiot. For some reason, I thought it was a different actor when it was Corbin, whatever the hell his name is. He was from some TV show.
Corbin what?
His name, the actor's name is Corbin something. Anyway, so that leads us to the fourth story, which is a really huge morality thing. It's a really good one. I didn't appreciate it when I was younger because I was like, okay, whatever. I wanted to see more supernatural ghosts.
I don't think I understood it when I was.
Yeah, younger. I don't think I understood it when I was younger. When I saw it, now I get it, and I was like, yeah, this shit is more relevant than anything. You know, it's just like insanity. And obviously, it's supposed to be sort of reflective on African Americans that are in gang violence and killing each other and shit like that.
It also has a nice little Clockwork Orange homage.
Yes,
hardcore
basically
convert.
They're basically killing each other off and doing the work for racist white guys. They're killing each other by not, you know, helping each other out. And I forgot how graphic this scene was, and it had actual, you know, photographs of lynchings and shit like that, which is really powerful and fucking disturbing, and like it's real. You know what I mean? It's not bullshit. Like there's actual, you know, photographs of it, and that always bothers me when I see that in like obviously lynchings in general should fucking bother anybody, but whenever they have photographs of dead people and they do a pan and scan, you know, when the camera will zoom in and move to somebody else.
Yeah.
There's something really unsettling. No matter what the image is, like if it's a fucking history documentary and it's normal, it's fine. But if it's like, if there's a dead body and then it'll zoom into somebody's like really creepy face smiling, like it bothers me really bad. And I don't know why that is. It's like so unnatural and jerky.
Maybe in these history things, you'll see yourself in that.
It really is powerful. The only thing that bothered me was Killer K, who's the guy. He had the worst like wig
Crazy
on
K.
his face. It was Crazy K. He had the worst sort of fake sideburns on his head. Like it was.
They were pretty bad.
I think he was bald, and they just put like a black wig on him. and
I
it
don't
just
know.
looked so poorly done, but whatever. And then they put him in a banana hammock, and I was like, this is a little bit too much. Like, he's just
What's a banana hammock?
that's when you wear like a thong and your fucking schlong is like
Oh yeah, and
basically.
he's like a big dick.
So I'm glad you
Like,
said
he
it.
really did.
But I guess that might have been for the women watching the film, because I'm pretty sure there were women in my theater going, oh, yes. You know, just watching.
I mean,
they didn't give a shit that he was dying.
That's like me hard is smaller than him limp.
No, he probably
It's
lost
like embarrassing. I'm
the guy
embarrassed.
probably like got lightheaded whenever he got a boner. But anyway, so he's like moved into the psychiatric psychiatric ward to like brainwash him and see who would get off of it.
It's basically like a modern take on Clockwork Orange.
And really good makeup effects, because like the makeup effects on the zombie guy in the first one were really obvious. They were kind of shitty because I guess of the lighting. But in this one, that part where he's in that little chamber,
Seeing
deprivation
all of
chamber,
the people he's killed,
and you see that guy with half of his face missing, like half of his head like blown off. Like that was a fucking great, because it was the lighting, I guess. Really good makeup effects on that guy, like really fucking good. And he's like, "That's wrong, yo," and everybody was laughing because it's obviously a comedic line. Because that was just wrong, man. Like, 'cause he was pissed. And the one that really stuck with me that I always remembered after all these years is the one with the little girl, I guess, killed by the drive-by.
That's fucked
Really,
up.
it's a really powerful scene, and he does not. In his brain, he's obviously the twist is that he's having sort of a Jacob's ladder scenario where he's just living over his he's living over through this whole thing on his deathbed or his death floor, I see. And that I thought that was a good one. Watching it again, I love that montage. Anytime a movie does a really good montage, I'm sorry to compare it to
Which
because
montage? The showing
you know
the
dead
tortures?
dead photos and all the gangsters killing each other and
Yeah.
shit like that. Like, it's a really powerful montage, and I'm sorry to like, because it's actual real things, and I have to like, and I'm just saying because I like montages in film that are done correctly. Like, okay, here's two of them that are good. There's a Dick Tracy scene where there's montage with see, this is why it is like lessening it, because the montage in this is important, more important than the two I'm going to say.
Also
but,
in Rocky, there's a good montage scene.
yeah, there. But then also, what was the other one I was just going to say? Either way, whatever. They're good montages. They're done really well. This is one of the more stronger ones that like will wake you up and be like, "Oh fuck! Like, this is scary shit. This is real life," you know? Because that, to me, that was much scarier than any of the fucking spooky shit. Was just guys in the street killing each other, you know? Like, it was just senseless violence killing each other, and I was like, God damn! Like, that sucks. Like, it really stinks. But I thought that was a really good one.
He didn't learn his lesson either.
I learned to appreciate this one much more. In now, you know what I mean? Because
it's like, a lot. I honestly, I don't think I was smart enough to understand it.
If anything, I think it's the spookiest story, just because just how real it is in its fantastical elements. It's much scarier because.
Oh, and I like this explanation on Wiki. It says, having refused a chance for redemption for his sins, he is transported back to the moment when he was shot.
Could be that, yeah. There was a little bit of obviously science fiction. It was cool to see like sort of a black science fiction. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see that
cool
kind of stuff.
Goggles and shit. That was really cool.
So this leads us to the end of the film, which is the wraparound story with the three guys, the three asshole gangbangers that are fucking around with the funeral director.
Snot or Ball or whatever fucking names.
And it leads to a fantastic twist ending, where the three guys were actually the ones that killed Crazy K. And they themselves, I always laughed about it because I was watching, it was like the part where they get killed by the cops because the cops just magically appear. And I was like, what the fuck? But then they show, obviously, they got killed by some of his people. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones, they themselves got died, where they open up the caskets because the funeral director says, hey, look, you know, your drugs are here. And they open it up and they're in there. And it's like one of the funniest fucking endings, but also the best because... The
effects are really outdated.
I thought actually, compared to a lot of things, I thought it was pretty cool. But I love the look on Bulldog's face when this guy turns into the devil. Here's a funny thing, the shadow when David Alan Grier's shadow walks into the room and you see a shadow looming over the kid. He's wearing the same headpiece as the devil. I guess they could only afford one headpiece.
Oh, cool.
Because he has the same actual headpiece as the devil at the end of this one. But it's like I love the last 30 seconds of this film where
it is good.
Where Clarence William III is just like over the top, and he goes, this scene. What did he say? Oh fuck!
This
there you go. I forgot.
this ain't the funeral home. This is or
No,
welcome to hell or whatever.
he goes, this ain't the Terror Dome neither. Welcome to hell. And he has the worst CG snake tongue come out of his mouth.
Yeah,
like,
it's not even CG. It's
as
like
bad as
Roger
Spawn.
Rabbit animation.
No, it was like Spawn animation, that tongue. And he goes, and they mutates into the fucking devil, and it looks, and he has like that big slender. It's very Boschian, like the art, you know, the way that it looks. Although they could have put more shit in the background and saw these people worshiping. I think it was mostly white people worshiping, and so maybe there's something there. And then the three guys are like just sort of dance. I remember somebody on YouTube saying, "Hey, look, that guy's doing the fucking Harlem Shake before it's even." Because I guess they must have just told the actors, like, just imagine you're on fire. And they're doing like these goofy rap dances, like before stuff that we see now as like actual dances.
The beginning.
It's like the Harlem Shake, but I love that ending. So I really, really, really fucking enjoyed this film on the second time around. Yeah. It's a really powerful film, and it shows you as Americans we have gone nowhere with.
We fucking suck.
Shit still is going on. It's happening from the white side, happening from the black side. Never-ending cycle of hell for everybody.
What do you want?
I would rate this a strong 8, a strong 8 out of 10. A female scientist who insists on changing your mind and your life, but you have to wear a small banana hammock so your large member is showing through, so she could at least enjoy something out of the experience.
Okay.
It's very presumptuous of me.
I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Killing a woman who did a hit and run on you, and then coming back, reforming yourself as a political adversary to the police, and then killing a police officer who beat you to death.
That's wonderful. You can learn a lot from this film. If you enjoyed Get Out, you would like this movie because it's very, it's very timely and it makes a lot of sense. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
Bulldog, ball, snot.
The horror deconstruction.